So how bad is Bitcoin for the planet? All digital currencies at some stage or another during their development run up against the so-called double spending problem. If I want to buy, say, a car using shady internet money, it's impossible for the car salesman to know for sure I'm not simultaneously using the very same shady internet money to buy a boat. If I can somehow convince both boat and car salespeople that both transactions are legit, I'll get both a car and a boat and be 100 miles away before anybody realizes they've been had. With conventional credit cards, all transactions are logged and verified centrally, which means you can't spend the same money twice or Visa will do you in. Bitcoin is different though. It strives above all else to be decentralized. Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto's greatest stroke of genius was developing the blockchain. Instead of some all-powerful central bank giving the nod, network computers around the world raced to verify the legitimacy of all recent Bitcoin transactions by solving or hashing elaborate maths puzzles. When one lucky computer somewhere on Earth pulls that off, a verified record of recent Bitcoin transactions is minted, a block that gets coupled to all previous blocks, a blockchain, which then gets copied and shared around the world as a reliable, decentralized ledger of all Bitcoin movements. No one individual can tamper directly with the blockchain, which is the basis of all its value. Back to our example. Whichever transaction, car or boat, is first verified in the hashing feeding frenzy wins, while the other is automatically rejected. And whichever computer out there on the network happens to have won the race to verify that block of transactions is rewarded, at the time of writing, with 6.25 bitcoins. This is worth around $283,000 to that computer's lucky owner, and no double spending in sight. That subtle, complex confirmation mechanism, known as proof of work, is certainly effective at keeping the blockchain in check. Trouble is, it consumes a vast amount of computing horsepower. To maximize your chances of solving the hash and collecting those 6.25 bitcoins, it makes sense for you, the miner, to have computers by the 100 greedily hashing day and night in gigantic, scary server farms. The more computers running, statistically, the more likely they are to succeed. And even though the energy bills are sky high, they're more than offset by the rising value of Bitcoin. Bigger farms run on many thousands of computers, well, graphics cards technically. All but one of those hard-working graphics cards will fail in the attempt, but, and this is key, every single one is still burning up energy in the attempt. That's the problem. How much energy? As interest in Bitcoin soars, Bitcoin mining now consumes some 129 terawatt-hours of electricity a year. Compare that to Google's net consumption of a measly 12.4 terawatt-hours, and the scale becomes obvious. In terms of emissions, driven by a latter-day gold rush of enterprising nerds gunning great battalions of graphics cards 24/7, Bitcoin's carbon footprint alone is now said to rival that of Argentina. Over the past 2 years, carbon emissions from all that fake mining has grown by some 40 million tons, or the equivalent of 8.9 million cars. Bitcoin is a bigger emitter than American Airlines and is fast catching up with the carbon footprint of the entire federal US government. If you want a British analogy, it's said the energy expended mining Bitcoin in a year could power every kettle in the UK for 27 years. Almost no other human activity is so flagrantly wasteful. But so long as proof of work remains the standard, it's just good business sense for Bitcoin farmers to leave their vast banks of graphics cards on constantly as it generates a constant stream of revenue. Energy consumption itself isn't a big deal, by the way, but much of the energy that runs those giant Chinese Bitcoin mines comes directly from dirty coal. As Greenpeace puts it, Bitcoin miners are powering 21st century technology with 19th century energy sources. In Iceland, locals are concerned that rivers are being dammed and natural beauty destroyed purely in order to run the country's thirsty Bitcoin mines.